Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Child in Time, growing up in the 60s. Welcome back. Well, we had an episode on the movies of the 60s, and we had one on the records, and now we're going to do the concerts. Although none of these concerts occurred in the 1960s, they're attended by someone who did grow up in the 60s. So that's okay. Before I start, I've just been not long back from the USA. I went there for the Soccer World Cup, as I said last episode. And we had a great time. Before the World Cup started, we got the Rocky Mountaineer from the lovely city of Vancouver to Banff. And that was very nice. The funny thing about Banff was that everyone who served us, almost without exception, was Australian. Was an Australian young person. And they kind of do it as the gap year. If you don't understand the concept, when people finish high school, they sometimes have a year off before they start uni, or just a break in uni or college. Yeah, so that was interesting. And then we saw the 3 World Cup games. Australia played Turkey in Vancouver. Then we saw Australia play the USA in Seattle. And then finally Australia play Paraguay in Santa Clara. And it was great, as usual, going to World Cup games. This is a great atmosphere, great fun. Although senior FIFA executives, if any of you are listening, look, drop those hydration breaks. I mean, when the referee would blow the whistle halfway through the half for that hydration break, and we know it was just to show commercials on television, well, all of us in the stadium, we just booed. Come on, guys, drop it. And also, before I leave the USA, most of you know who listen to this podcast regularly that I'm something of a gourmet. Yeah, so I'm going to give you my perfect USA meal in all 3 courses. For starters, or entree, as they say in the US, I'm going to select a soupe d'oignon, which translate to French onion soup. What a way to start a meal. Now, those are available at Applebee's restaurants, which are all over the US. And moving on to the main course. It's hard to choose, but after narrowing it down, what I'm going to go for is, as the main course, the double from In-N-Out Burgers, which seem to be predominantly on the west coast of the USA. And for vegetables to go with that, well, it'd have to be French fries, wouldn't it? Well, the potato's a vegetable. And then to finish off the perfect meal, what sort of dessert? Well, if there was any key lime pie around, I'd have that. Or if you couldn't get that, I'd just have some red vines or Twizzlers, and you can get them from CVS, Vons, Walgreens, anywhere really. And what would be the perfect accompaniment to drink with all this? Well, I'm opting for Mountain Made lemonade. So there you go. That's the result of my culinary tour of the USA. Okay, now, rock concerts. That special thrill of seeing the acts you love. They're on the stage right now in your city. Wow. So here in Australia in the 60s and 70s, we were a long way from the major concert markets of the USA, England and Europe. Yeah, we were a long way away. Well, I was still a long way away, apparently. The Beatles toured Australia in 1964, and I was so jealous of one of my friends who went to the concert. There was no way I was ever going to go. My dad had already dismissed the Fab Four as an annoying fad that would soon be forgotten. The first major concert I attended was on the 9th of May, 1971, when I was 3 years old. No, I was 16. Australia we'd really been starved of big rock acts and having to get our fill from records and cover bands. So the Australian tour by Deep Purple, Free and Manfred Mann was a stunning success and showed that there was a sizable audience for rock in Australia. The concert was on a Sunday and tickets were $3. $3. Yeah. Now, the show was on at Randwick Racecourse in Sydney, and the stage was set up in front of the racing track, facing a long concrete concourse. Then there was a grandstand. We got there early and rushed to the front and took up our prime seats not far from the front of the stage. And we sat on the hard concrete for several hours before the first act appeared. And off it went. Now, Manfred Mann and Free were really good, but when the classic lineup of Deep Purple took the stage and started up, I was mesmerised by it all. I resolved at that moment to start my own band. I haven't quite done it yet, but, these things take time. Anyway, it was just a fantastic day out for all 30,000 of us there. I know I've said this before, but there is a photograph taken from behind Richie Blackmore, the Deep Purple guitarist on stage, and I can clearly see myself in the crowd in the shot. I was hooked. We had to go and see just about every act that endured the long flight to come to Australia. On the 31st of October 1971, Elton John gave his first concert in Sydney, again at Randwick Racecourse. In 71, Elton John was still in the ascendancy of fame, really. So this was before all the outrageous costumes and all that era. Elton he was even regarded as being cool. I was not the only Deep Purple fan to go to the concert, that's for sure. He'd only released 4 albums by this point, so a lot of his hits were in the future. And like every act at Randwick, every song got a standing ovation. Those of us sitting on the unyielding concrete would have stood and given a standing ovation to someone playing, I'm a Little Teapot on a kazoo. So great was the desire to stand up for a bit. During Elton's concert, I remember a brief storm flurry crashed the event and the tarpaulin over the stage came down near the performers. Elton immediately started playing Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. Nice. Tickets were $4. Moving forward to the 27th of February 1972, to the Sydney Showground for Led Zeppelin. No concrete this time. I was seated in a grandstand at this very big outdoor event. The concert is part of Australian rock folklore, described as the loudest rock concert ever by many. It was Zeppelin at the peak of their powers, 30,000 crammed into a venue designed for 25,000 people. When they came on and opened with Immigrant Song, hundreds of people rushed the stage and pushed down the barriers that were before the stage. Robert Plant appeared a bit frightened and told everyone to get back. Anyway, it was 2 hours, the likes of which none of us would ever see again. The set finished with the extended version of Whole Lotta Love. It was great. It was back to the concrete at Randwick on the evening of the 26th of February 1973 for the incendiary rock that was Tony Orlando and Dawn. No, it was the Rolling Stones. It was a lineup featuring Mick Taylor before Ronnie Wood joined. Unlike the latter-day Stone shows, it was just the band on stage with a blank board behind them. Just the band. No bells and whistles. The set started with Brown Sugar, a song they have not performed since 2019 because of lyric content. And they rocked along through all their classics. Now, many will criticise me for this, but if the Stones had retired right then, their legacy would have been secure. They have not and cannot better two of the songs they performed that night. They are the songs Gimme Shelter and You Can't Always Get What You Want. I know your mileage may vary. After the last song, Street Fighting Man, Jagger said goodnight. The stage went dark and a spectacular fireworks display erupted overhead. Oh, wow. I remember just how I felt as I gazed at the colour overhead that night. I thought, I'm 18. I'm about to have to come to grips with being an adult. I'm sure I'll have some good times and bad. But just at this moment, I couldn't be happier. I saw lots of other acts during that era. Joe Cocker, Focus, Jethro Tull, Frank Zappa, Lou Reed, Jeff Beck, John Mayall, AC/DC, and David Bowie are the ones that immediately spring to mind. I'm sure there were others. In 1974, I went to live in London, England, for 2 years. And while I was there, I saw Santana, Ginger Baker, Earth, Wind and Fire. But the concert I want to mention here is one I think I mentioned in a previous episode. It was The Who, another band in their peak at that time. And for a while, the concert was listed in the Guinness Book of Records as the loudest concert ever. That category has since been abandoned because they don't want to encourage any band to try and beat it. It was an all-day thing with several support bands before The Who came on at nightfall. The ground was packed with an estimated 88,000 people, well above the ground's capacity. While the support bands were playing, my lovely Brazilian girlfriend skillfully engineered to get us to a place close and centre in front of the stage. She'd just smile, say, "Excuse me," and ask to move past people, then quickly pull me forward behind her. So when The Who started, we had a perfect view. The Who were magnificent that night, and the concert itself is one of the band's most famous performances, after Woodstock, I suppose. And no, I don't seem to have suffered any hearing loss because of being there. The Who's drummer, Keith Moon, died 2 years later. So I'm so pleased to get to see the classic lineup. So that's just some of the concerts I went to. I'm sure listeners of a certain age have their own fantastic, indelible memories of going to gigs, man. Yeah, there's not too many people I'd go and see nowadays. Yeah. So what are some of the classic concerts you attended? You're probably at some of the ones I mentioned. I'd love to hear. Okay. Before I go, I've got some very, very exciting news. Just 4 days ago, my first book has finally been published. It's called Duress, My Career in Mental Health, a memoir. And it is what it says on the box. It is the story of my career working in mental health. As I started as a Callow youth, my training, and then working as a clinician. And I was doing that job for 38 years. After I left the health department, I worked as a facilitator, teaching for and mentoring students for universities. And look, if you like this podcast, please go to Amazon or your favourite bookseller and buy a copy. No, don't just buy one. Buy 2 or 3. I recently spoke to someone who bought 10 copies to give to friends. Thank you so much. So, the other thing I need to mention, it's available in hardback, paperback, Kindle, and I'm in the process now of organising to have an audiobook version. And initially I wanted to read the audiobook version myself, but it's like most things, it's much harder than what it looks. So I think I'm going to get a professional audiobook reader to do it. I'm just insisting that it's a male with an Australian accent to get some authenticity. So, as I said, if you like this podcast, please buy this copy of my book, and I'd be thrilled if you go there and leave a positive review so people can find it. And it took me a year to write, which some people say is quick, but anyway. Exciting news. It's finally out. And thanks for listening, and we will talk soon.